Hi, I'm Mark. Welcome back to Foothill Paint Fabrication. Well, we're right back on Project Ruby today, and we're going to get right back on this quarter panel. But before we get on the quarter panel work, let's take a quick look at a spreadsheet I have of all the costs that we have to date on Project Ruby. So let's take a look at that, and then we're going to jump in here and get to work on this quarter panel. Okay, I got a pretty simple spreadsheet set up here. A friend of mine helped me with it so it would total and look right and work correctly. So what we have here is just kind of a rundown of everything we've spent so far on Project Ruby, and helps me keep track of what's on back order, what I've got, and all that kind of stuff. So we just got my name and everything on here, and so far we spent $6,067 on the project. And you can see here I've just got the status, the order date, delivery date, stuff like that. It kind of lets me know, you can see here I've got the hood and the radiator support on back order with OPGI. And then, of course, to have the car dipped, that was $2,800. And then, I got some body bushings, and I've got some other stuff that's on back order. But a lot of stuff I do have that I bought as worked through it. So in the, the GTO seats out of the late model GTO, those, I think I spent $300. I'm not positive. And then we move over here to chassis parts, and some of this stuff I bought a long time ago, thinking I was going to get started on the car, and it didn't work out so well. This date is wrong. That should say 21, I believe. But, A-arms, tubular A-arms, disc brakes for the front and rear, high ratio of fast steering box, and I just picked up the Willwood master cylinder for the clutch the other day. So we've spent about $1,900 on the chassis so far. And then paint and supplies, we've spent $561, and that for some DTM primer, wax and grease remover, the epoxy primer, and the Duragold scuff pads. And of course the engine, we haven't touched it, so we haven't spent anything on that so far. We won't know what we need until we open that thing up. So not too bad. We've spent $6,067.02. So I hope you guys like this update. Let me know one way or the other, and I'll keep doing them. Let's get back over on that quarter panel. Okay, before we jump on that quarter panel, you guys remember last video I talked about making a slapper, buying a slapper, or getting a slapper. So that's what I did. I got this one right here in this set right here from Harbor Freight. It was like $31, but they were having a 25% deal. So I went ahead and got it, so it cost me like, I don't know, $23 or something. So it was a pretty good deal. Came with this kind of a long reach hammer. I think this was like called a door skin kit or something. So this will come in really handy. Has kind of a unique head on it on both ends. The dollies are really nice and solid. They do need to be surfaced a little bit because they are not flat. So I'll take those over to the belt sander and sand these edges nice and flat, because they kind of have some hoop-to-doos in them. So, but the slapper is nice. It's got some heft to it. It feels good in my hand, so I like it. I did have to resurface that because it wasn't flat either. It had a little groove down the middle. But I went ahead and made one as well. Got a hold of Dave. He said, "Hey, you got an old leaf spring around there?" And he goes, "Yeah, I think I got a piece." So he goes, "Well, if you make one, make two." So there was enough leaf spring to make two slappers out of it, so that's what I did. It came up to about here. I happened to put a round pipe, a 3/4 inch pipe on here for a handle, but that was no good because it was trying to twist in my hand when I was using it, testing it out. So I cut that off, and I put a piece of 1/4 inch steel on there, just shaped it, and this is nice and flat. It has the slightest of curves, just a tiny, tiny bit, but this spring steel is pretty hard stuff, so I don't have to worry about it getting marred up or anything. All right, let's jump back over to the quarter panel and see if we can raise that low spot up. Okay, so last week we worked this area right here, and we got it looking really good. That the more I stared at this thing, the more I realized that it's got good shape, but it is actually too low in this area. So I don't know if you guys can see these Sharpie marks on here. What I did was I put a light on the ground shining up, and then I held the straight edge across here, and across this plane, this quarter panel is straight, okay? So I held it like that, and I just looked where the light was shining through, and I put a little mark wherever the end of the low spot was. And I just kept moving up, doing that, and just kind of make myself a map of what's low and what's high. You can see, right here, it kind of starts here, but it touches right there, and then just kind of kept going along. and that gave me this kind of heart shape we got going on here. So it's a little probably close to where it's supposed to be, a little low in between here, but we have this kind of a round thing right here that we need to bring up. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to go ahead and try to push up on a larger area and then use the slappers to slap this area to hopefully bring this up. So let's switch around into the trunk and I'll show you my setup to push on this evenly. Okay, last time I pushed, I just kind of put the board and I crammed it in there and I pulled. The problem was this angle right here. It was trying to push the board at an angle and I didn't want that. So all I did was I took a ratchet strap and I put the two hooks right here, and now I can place the board on that right there and then take my board, and it's going to be more parallel or perpendicular to the panel, okay? So that should work out pretty good right there. And then I took another one of those 5-inch DA discs that I've never used, and I cut it into this kind of oval shape, okay? So I still have the little one we made, and so if I have a smaller area, I can switch to that if I got this a larger area like we're working on today. So that's going to go on the end of this board right here, just like that. And then we'll be able to rotate that, you know, to match the low spot, and then use this board to push on it, and then start slapping on it. So let me bring the camera around, put some ear protection in, and then we'll see if we can't bang this thing back out. Okay, we're going to start in this area, and I've got that oval shape kind of hopefully laying right here, locating exactly where it's at. It's the hardest part of this whole deal. So we're going to put some pressure out. We're going to try out the homemade slapper here. And I'm just going to hold pressure on it. Okay, then I'm going to hold the straight edge up on there, and I'm just going to keep checking it. So that's the plan on that. Jake doesn't like the hammering, so I got to put him out real quick. I got the door down. So let's get him out of here because he don't like the banging, and get a straight edge on there and see how we're doing. Okay, we did get some of it out, but this is like a really not super deep. It's probably less than a 1/16 of an inch deep right here. But I want to really get that out. So I switched over to the smaller little padded piece we have in there. I don't know if you guys can see it flexing right there. So we're going to go ahead and see if we can't work that out. So with the slapper, from what I've just been practicing on some old fenders and a hood, obviously straight on slapping really doesn't do, actually does, when I'm doing it, it does more harm than good. I've seen guys, you know, just do that, but for me, the glancing blow from where it's high to where it's low, it seems like it kind of pushes the sheet metal into the better shape for me anyways. So let me keep smacking on this and we'll see if we can't get this out. And that is coming out slowly, but it still doesn't want to come out. I'm going to pull really hard right here and see if we can't get this part to stay out. I may need to work a little bit lower to get it all to come up together. So let me work at this a little bit and I'll bring you right back. Okay, so we had a little bit of success here, but it's such a large area, I need to push really hard. And I got it out enough so it's the most shallow low spot on this panel now. Now I want to move over, like we talked about earlier, we want to do the deepest ones first, right? So that's now these two. So I put the straight edge across there and I located both of them, and I've got the smaller little pad in there, and I actually turned the board the other way so I could pull even harder because I was about to break the board going the other direction. And I'm pulling very hard so I can get this whole area. I don't know if you guys can see it flexing out there. So I'm just going to pull as hard as I can. And then I'll just keep checking over the straight edge. And that's coming out. I could see a pronounced area right there. Now I put the straight edge on there and I run my finger underneath. I can see the shadow on my finger, and it's a lot less. So I'm going to keep working this. Well, I've got finally the pad located in the exact position I want. So I'm just going to keep at this, and then we'll move over and do this one. Okay, we're having some success on the small scale, but the large overall low spot right here, well, I'm having trouble getting that to come out. I know I'm pushing in the right spot because when I put the straight edge on it and put pressure on the board, I can see the apex heading right there. So we may have to get the porta power out to push this area strong enough to get any kind of results. But before we go there, I'm going to get the big slapper out, and I'm going to pull hard as I can without breaking the board. And I'm just going to try to hit this whole area and get this one big spot to come out, hopefully. So here we go. Hopefully it won't make it worse. Oh, oil can, see that? You guys see that oil can down there? Yeah, it's a problem. Okay, let's check it out. It looks better overall. It's still a little low in this area, but now we're starting to run into, you know, the oil can down here. Now that oil can I worked on when it was on the sawhorses, and I felt really good about it. I couldn't push on it, and it didn't want to come back. I had to push really hard to try to get it to oil can. Now it's caved in. It's too low right there. So we'll try to pull this out, cause that oil can to come back. So I'm going to keep working at this. We'll bring you back and we'll take a look at it. And then I think on another video, we're going to take care of this lower strip. So let me work this a little bit and we'll check it out. That'll wear you out. All right, so we're looking a lot better. Whew. If I do the old straight edge and slide it, I can see that it's touching on a lot of spots, so it's looking pretty good. Let's put the long straight edge on it and see how we look. Whew, I'm out of breath. Okay, so we got a low spot right there, which is obviously we can tell, right? So now we're going to go back to a dolly just like I was just doing, and I'm going to smack around here and try to push out as hard as I can and see if we can't get that. This has a slight curve in it, very similar to this body panel. Ugh. Okay guys, slapping on this so much it's about wearing me out, but so I went ahead and took a break, ate my lunch, and thought about this during lunch. And so I came back, I wiped off all the marks off here, put the straight edge back on here, and kind of remarked where we're at, trying to figure out, you know, what's changed and where I'm going. And we are making some improvements. We're making headway. This dot with the circle around it and dot with the circle around it right here, these are the most pronounced little low spots. The whole thing is kind of low, but this is kind of a little dip and a little dip. And then this square right here, that is a very, very high, well not very high, you know, 16th or whatever, 3/32 high spot. And it's kind of holding this up from being correct. So I gave it a lot of thought, and I'm sitting there thinking, you know, I'm pushing out here and an oil can's forming down here. So, you know, it's trying to tell me something. So when I move this to the proper location, this oil can starts popping in and out. So I'm thinking, all right, Mark, listen to it. So when I push on this, if I can find that, there it is. When I push on this, I know you guys can't see it, but I'll bring the camera around. This area right here, it pops out. The whole thing does. And if I hold a straight edge across here and pop it out like that, it comes out to the straight edge. So that fixing this oil can actually brings this out where it belongs. So let me bring you around, I'll show you what I mean. Okay, I don't know if you guys can see it or not, but this whole thing goes in and out right here with the oil can. And it's not a lot, it's just a little. And this isn't an oil can right here, that's actually solid. But it just goes to show you how far away, because I'm way down here pushing, and that is affecting this up here. So I think the answer is to get this oil can out, and then that'll bring that back up where it belongs. So I think that's about it for today. I don't think we can move any farther until we get this oil can out of here. Okay guys, what did I tell you on the last video? We were gonna work the perimeter and then make our way to the center. Did I do that? Sure, I started that. We did that on the last video when we sweetened it up pretty nice up around here. Then I started working this area and heading towards the center, and I was determined to get that center back out because I put the straight edge on it. I knew it was low, and I was determined, I was stubborn to push that out. Now, if I'd have followed my own advice and worked down here, then this would probably have come out once we got this all straightened out. Luckily, by pushing on it, the oil can was just waving his arms, hey, look at me, I'm the problem. And it turns out the oil can is the problem. But luckily we didn't do any more damage. I thought about using a porta power. I was being stubborn. I'm going to push this out. It's going to come out one way or the other. But luckily, I took a break, thought about it, and the answer, I'm pretty sure the answer is right here. So next video, we're going to work on this. And frankly, I'll tell you straight up, I worked towards the center because I thought it was going to be easier. And then I knew this was a mess down here, and I didn't want to work on it. It's tough and it's hard to reach, and I can't get my hand down in there, can't get a dolly in there, so I know it was going to be a lot of trouble. So I tried to go easy, and it kind of bit me in the butt. So it's kind of a lesson, just learn from my mistakes. I make them all the time, I'm human, but next time we're going to take care of this. Now, it's probably going to need some heat to shrink it down. I don't have one of those shrinking discs you put on your sander. I've only seen one used once, and I don't have a small acetylene torch to heat little dots. But I do have a TIG welder, and I've been thinking of this long before this, if I could use a TIG welder to heat little tiny spots, turn the amps way down, and just heat little spots and cool it with air and just move around and do that. So I'll be testing that off camera. I'm not going to test on Ruby. I'll get the old hood out or something, and then we'll test it on that, see how it works. But I think that's going to be a good solution, and that's what we're going to be doing next time. We're going to be taking care of some of this mess down here, and I bet you that this center is going to come out, and it's going to be, so close. Then we just have to do a little fine tuning on it. So we'll see if that's true or not, but I have a feeling it will be. So learn from my mistakes. Once again, yeah, you think I'd know by now, but I still make mistakes. Thanks for joining me here at Foothill Paint Fabrication. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button if you haven't already. Mash that bell and drop me a comment. I'd love to hear from you. We'll see you on the next one.